Hi, YouTube. Thank you so much for coming to my live stream. I'm really excited to be here and to talk about yet another Amway video. I hope everyone had a really good weekend and you're able to do something that relaxed you or like hang out with your friends and your family. I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now or in the camera. I don't know how I feel about this lighting. I don't know. I don't know how to do lighting, friends. Usually just my lamp sitting beside me is good enough and, like, it's not too bright, but I just, like I had it without, like, the lampshade on it, and you couldn't even see my face. So I have the lampshade on it, then I have my little crappy ring light, but, like, I don't know. I don't know how to do lighting. Maybe I need to get, like, an actual ring light, but I feel like I look weird. I don't know. At least you guys can see me. That's all that matters. Hi, Johnny. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Hi, Live Panic. Hey, Charlie. And hey, Gary. Oh, lots of comments. Yay. Oh, Charlene's here. Hi, Charlene. Thank you for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, Mark said the lighting's fine. And then Johnny said the lighting's fine. Okay. I overthink it so much. And then I call my husband in and I'm like, how's the lighting? I don't know. I don't know how to YouTube. Hey, Lisa. Thank you for coming. Oh, Charlene says it looks good. Okay. Thank you. As long as you can see me. As long as you can see me, you know? Maybe an MLM lighting company. I'll start my own because I'm such an expert at YouTube video lighting, right? Very pro microphone. We like it. We can see more of it with this setup. Oh, got you. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Gary. I'm glad I look half decent in this lighting. I really don't know how to do it. So today I'm excited to talk about another Amway video, and they are named Bobby and Priscilla Harris. And we're going to quickly go through their unofficial Amway wiki page, and then we're going to talk about like react to one of their speeches. So remember in my other videos I've done using this page, this is not affiliated with Amway and it's not maintained by Amway, so it may not be completely accurate. So this is Bobby and Priscilla Harris, and they went diamond in Amway in 1985. And we're just going to read this so we know who they are, then we're going to listen to their video. After coaching baseball and basketball, as well as teaching physical education for 16 years in Northern Virginia, Bobby Harris knew that something had to change. Although totally dedicated to his work, he knew his career was not providing sufficient income to support a wife and two children. Bobby's wife Priscilla had been a secretary, but she and Bobby felt she should devote her time to raising their two young sons. With Bobby working 4 jobs and rarely able to see his family, they were introduced to a marketing business. Their immediate reaction was, why not? Bobby stayed up all night reading the 2 books and listening to the tapes left with them by the friend who told them about the business. At 8 a.m. the next morning, Bobby was knocking on his friend's door saying, we're excited about this business. What do we do next? Strictly following the system was key, says Bobby. Through the Brit system, that's Bill Britt. We've talked about him multiple times on this channel. We were able to develop the necessary qualities to go diamond. After reaching the ruby level, they bought a 5-bedroom home, totally furnished, lightly through the personal shopper's catalog, new wardrobes, 2 new cars, and a diamond ring and mink coat for Priscilla. Anyone who's been in Amway, tell us about, like, is that actually realistic? This was in the 80s, but they went ruby and then bought all this stuff in the mid 80s after they went ruby. I'm not sure if your average ruby will actually make that much money, but I don't know. Where was I? They were also able to give to more charities. The same year, Bobby attained his freedom at age 35. Through faith, hard work, and answered prayers, Bobby and Priscilla reached the diamond level in 1985. This business had been their total livelihood since 1981, and their sons, Bob and Bill, have literally grown up in the business. They have benefited greatly from having a full-time mom and dad, and have enjoyed traveling to many exotic locations with their parents. And then we don't need to read that part. So, when did they start? Usually this tells us when they started. It does not tell us when they started, but it really hits on all of the main points of an MLM startup story. Bobby was working 4 jobs. He wasn't able to see his family. He was sad. And then his friends introduced them to this marketing business. And they're like, yeah, of course. And then, of course, they found really, really quick success and they're able to be present parents. Maybe we should, this part down here is just talking about how they're a present parent and they're like going to all their kids' football games. And of course, we can't be nice and present parents without Amway. And in the video, he's going to talk about how they were poor and broke when they started, but when they were married, sorry, but when they were married, he was 21 and Priscilla was 19. And like, I don't know who isn't broke when they're 19 and 21, right? Anyway, so, oh, Sherry's here. Hey, Sherry, thank you for joining. We're doing an Amway video today. And then Charlene said hi to Sherry. It's not even close. Oh, you mean like the Ruby income is not enough to buy all that stuff? I wonder though, like, do you mean in the 80s or now? Because for sure now, like that would, I doubt that, and very few people in Amway would actually be able to do all the stuff they said now. And then Lift Panic said, full-time mom and dad, I doubt it. Yeah, because we've heard the people in Amway talk about how they have to show the plan 5 to 6 nights a week and how they're always prospecting. They're always looking for opportunities to get someone to be a member of their downline. And so, yeah, like I doubt that they were actually 100% present parents while working their Amway business. No more present than they would have been just working a 9 to 5 and then coming home and seeing their kids in the evening. Because I would rather work 9 to 5 and then come home and be totally present with my kids and like play with them and take them places and not have to worry about prospecting everyone, you know? Most likely a bullshit backstory. They made most of it with the tools. Yes, that's a good point. So, where's my mouse? It's gone. I have so many cords on my desk. Okay. So, this is the Brit Worldwide Social YouTube page, and this is another speech. And it's not like we're not going to see anything. We're not going to see anything. It's just the picture of them, but that's okay. And they're just going to tell us all about delayed gratification. I turned it down a little bit because it's really loud, but let me know if you can't hear it.
Y'all having a good time today? You learning something? Having fun? All right, fantastic. Let me ask you a question. What price is too great for the privilege of owning yourself? Hello?
What price is too great for the privilege of owning yourself? So we have to sacrifice everything that's important to us in order to live some weird ass life of freedom that's based on their definition, because freedom can mean different things for different people. It could mean having your evenings free to spend with your children. It could mean having your weekends free to spend with your spouse. But I feel like there's only one definition of freedom within the MLM context, and it has to mean buying all the crap you want, spending all the money, and like just traveling around the world. I'm going to go back a few seconds. I paused it at a weird time. Literally just a couple seconds. Okay. There are a few MLMs that make me want to run the other way more than Amway. Yes, I totally agree. So let's listen to this weird quirk that he has. And every time I listened to this like 200 times last week in preparation for this. And every time I was like, what are you doing?
Of owning yourself. Hello? You with me? Good stuff. Some people make money, other people make excuses.
So he keeps, like, he says hello constantly after every sentence. So he'll say something, and then half a second later, he goes, hello? And I can just imagine, like, all those people sitting there being like, you literally just said something. You just said your statement. Why are you, like, getting in my face and saying hello right after? I'm just being picky, but he has a few interesting quirks for sure. Hey, Tanya, thank you for joining. It's really cool that you're here. We're listening to an Amway speech from 2010-ish.
Hello? This business is a life changer, one way or another. How many people are intelligent? The rest of you are dummies. How many people are intelligent people? You figured out the business works, right? Figured out people in BWW know how to work it, right? What's holding you back? Figuring out that you can do it. Does that make sense? So I've been.
What's holding you back? Figuring out that you can do it. Does that make sense? So, of course, the only thing that could be restricting our success in an MLM is our own mindset, not that Amway is a pyramid scheme, not that very few people actually make money, and those who are actually rich make the money through the tools. And Lift Panic said the hello is weird and rude. Yeah, and he also says, does that make sense? Like every 5 seconds as well. And every time I was listening to this, he's like, does that make sense? I would just be like, no, it doesn't, sir. It doesn't make sense. And yeah, Mark said, where is DC? Yeah, I love it when DC can come in. She's so nice and she's so encouraging. It's all your mindset. Yes, Charlene, totally. Okay, I'll actually let it play for a second.
Married for 45 years last month. And it's been a blessed life with her, and it's going to be better and better every day, which tells you a couple of things. I don't know how sharp she was, but I was very intelligent, right? And we have a wonderful life. I want to share a couple of things with you here today. The great thing about this business is a lot of things, but you know, as you look at what they shared today in the area of Nutrilite, nutrition and health and weight management, all that type of stuff, the problem we have sometimes is that people get distracted function to function, you know. And last function, I think we talked about, we had an artistry panel, we had a excess thing, and we had a ribbon thing, you know, and that's because we have all this stuff. Does that make sense? So let me give you a couple of tips on a couple of things, then we'll talk about the category that we're supposed to be talking about. But one thing is, I tell my son this all the time, the reason, 3 things that I realized I needed to do in this business, and they all revolved around one thing, and that was showing the plan. Hello? And you show the plan so that you can find somebody just like you who wants to show the plan. Does that make sense?
Show the plan. Hello? Hello? Every time he would go, hello, I'm like, oh no, stop it, sir. And so you have to show the plan to find people who also want to show the plan. What does that sound like? In my opinion, that sounds like the modern day MLM duplication, because in Beachbody, you're going to make jack shit unless you find people you directly recruit people who directly recruit people, who directly recruit people, and so on and so on. You literally need to they tell you need to duplicate yourself. You need to duplicate yourself in order to find any level of success. So he's telling us we need to show the plan to find other people who will duplicate the behaviors that we're showing. Okay. Oh, and then Gary had a good comment up here. Means doing something you like, are good at, and when every day is different and a challenge. Yeah. It helps if what you do matters to the community or world. It is not this. Yes, that's a really good point. Charlene says, an affirming question at the end, like, does that make sense? Is a common tactic to encourage groupthink. Eventually, everyone will say yes automatically. Oh, interesting. Cool. People might buy a product from a friend, not realizing it's an MLM product, but I think everyone knows that Amway is an MLM. Probably, but maybe not everyone knows that MLMs are not very good, that MLMs are predatory. I don't know. It's a tough one. In 2006, my brother invited me to go out with his friends. He was 21, I was 31, and I was excited because we grew up apart and I never met his friends. He ended up taking me to an Amway meeting. Oh no. I'm such an introvert that no one tried to recruit me that I know of. Oh, I'm sorry you went to an Amway meeting, but I'm really glad that you weren't recruited into that. I think that might have been you, Johnny, who was telling us about, it might have been you when your brother was recruited into Amway, but then got out quickly. If that was you, I'm glad your brother got out quickly, and I'm glad you did not get in.
You show the plan so you can fall into a commercial contract of some type, maybe. Because if you're out there trying to go after a commercial contract, you got all kinds of competition who are out there as a profession doing that. Does that make sense? And you'll more than likely just find somebody who knows somebody who can lead you into a commercial contract. The third reason you do it is to find somebody who is really into weight management, or really gets into artistry, or really gets into excess, or really gets into ribbon. All right. And they may or may not build a big business, but that's what they're into, and they can make a lot of money. We have people in our group that make a full-time income in artistry. Does that make sense? So that's what you're looking.
I doubt that. So in 2010, people in his downline made a full-time income. He said in artistry. So does that mean just selling the products within that, what is it called? Like that brand, that Amway brand? I highly doubt that. I think that's a lie, sir, based on what we know about Amway.
Looking for, but what if you're really, what's the first thing I ask you? What price is too great for the privilege of owning yourself? Does that make sense? You know, how many?
What price is too great? I think being forced to step over our moral and ethical boundaries, having to change who we are as a human in order to fit into the group identity of an MLM, having to sacrifice all of our downtime to spend by ourselves, having to sacrifice our quality time with our spouse, our kids, our friends, having to sacrifice our hobbies. What else? Wasting our money, wasting our time. I think I would not sacrifice. There's a lot of things I wouldn't sacrifice in order to find success in a predatory business structure. Joining a cult, yes. And he kept saying a commercial contract. And I kept thinking, like, is he going to say commercial cult? Hello sounds like, is this microphone on, right? Yeah, it's so weird. And maybe it's just a way to like keep people engaged, but like you got to give them a second to actually respond. Weird.
How many people want to be free? How many people need to be free? Big difference between wants and needs, isn't there? You never get what you want, but you always get what you need. Because if you need it, it never leaves your mind. If it leaves your mind, you didn't need it. You just wanted it. Does that make sense? And so it's a matter of.
I have a lot to say. So in this case, if we don't find success in Amway, it's because we wanted it, but we didn't need it. So the thought left our mind and we didn't work hard enough and we didn't sacrifice what we needed to sacrifice.
Priorities, isn't it? That's what it is. It's a matter of priorities. You had great talks this weekend. You could have more tonight and tomorrow. We're going to just try to give you a couple of things, couple of bullet points on what we thought, all right, as we were moving our way to where we started to getting free. Does that make sense? Please check up line if you hear anything different. We were broke when we got in. We were in debt when we got in. All right. So there wasn't any way to build this business when we were out of debt, when we were already in debt, unless we continued to stay in debt. Does that make sense? If we waited to get out of debt, we never got out of debt, so we never built. Does this make any sense? You know, if the cost of this weekend kept people from coming this weekend because they didn't have the money to come unless they put it on a credit card or whatever, that's like the doctor telling you what you needed to cure yourself and you not doing it. Does that make sense? There may be times in your business, our subject is delayed gratification.
If the reason why we're not joining Amway is that we're in debt, then we're always going to be in debt and we're never going to fix our debt. And so we need to make an investment into our businesses, into ourselves to join Amway, even if we're putting it on a credit card, even if we're borrowing money. Because if we just keep pushing and we have the right mindset, then we will be able to pay back our debt like tenfold. Right. And so I think that we've heard that a lot in modern day MLM speak. Sell your TV, sell your clothes, put it on a credit card, borrow money from your grandma. Oh, the women in WFAB will say, like, I don't want to work with someone who can't solve a $1,500 problem. Remember that? $1,500 is a lot of money for the majority of people. And it's a good thing to not be spending $1,500 that we don't have on a pyramid scheme. Right? A new drinking game. Does that make sense? And then Lift Panic said, yeah, we should be doing shots. So don't use I'm in debt as a reason not to join. I'm guessing that's the number one objection. Yeah. And if it's like, if someone's in debt, then they shouldn't be buying into a pyramid scheme. And it's a good thing that they're saying no, because they want to make sure they don't go into even more debt. It's a good thing that they say no. And people don't even need to have a really significant reason. They can just say no. Oh, he's talking in circles, but then constantly asked if that makes sense. I'm sure everyone is just nodding their heads. Totally. I wish we could see the crowd. But I'm really happy that we can at least have the audio.
Well, we were already delaying gratification. We didn't even know what gratification was. You know, when Priscilla and I got married, Priscilla and I married when she was 19. It was like 3 years ago. All right. And I was 21. Okay. We didn't have any money. All right. We were broke. I remember our first house was an 8x40 trailer. 8x40, 8 feet. You know, you could hardly lie down. Terry O'Shea couldn't have lied down. You know, there's no way that would have happened. You know, and I told her, I said, honey, no, I'm going to be a PE teacher and a coach. You know, and I promise you, we'll never have any money. And she said, oh, I know, honey, but I love you so much, you know. And so for 15, 16 years, I was fulfilling that promise of always being broke. But you know what? We loved each other. And all of a sudden, we saw something like.
There's always a story about how before they joined, people were so broke, people were so lost, and I can't help but think, okay, who isn't broke when they're 19 and 21? Who isn't lost and confused about the rest of their life when they're 22? Heck, when they're 25, when they're 27. I did not have my life together like in my first like adult job that could kind of pay the bills until like 25 or something, 26, right? Like it took a second, it took a minute, just like lots of people. And it's a normal situation to be in where you take a little bit of time to get into a job that can support you and sustain you. And we hear people nowadays in Monade a lot, like, I was so lost when I was 20. Of course you were. Who isn't lost when they were 20? Who wasn't broke when they were 21? So now I think he's going to talk about when he was introduced to the business.
Like you did, that could possibly change your life. And we started coming to these functions. We started listening to people, and our minds started to grow. And we know we did more than anything else. I'm going to let Priscilla say something in here in a minute. We bought into the information. We didn't question the information. We didn't go home and analyze it. Does that make sense? We bought into, because the proof was there. Amway was working. BWW was working. You with me? The worst thing a person could do was give misinformation to people because it would affect their income. Does that make sense? So we bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Doesn't mean we started to do everything, but we didn't discount anything. Does that make sense? And I think the continuity of that. What's the key word? Continuity of that is the key thing. You with me? So our subject is delayed gratification. We only got about 10 or 12 minutes to talk to you about.
Charlene said, don't think critically. Got it. Yeah. He's bragging about not going home and thinking about it. We hear this a lot where people will say, why are you doing research? Why do you care? Just like jump in. In Beachbody, they'll say, like, take messy action. It doesn't matter if you don't know everything, you'll learn as you go. And they're making it seem like it's a bad thing to want to know your job description before starting a job. Let's think about any, like, an average work environment where you see a job description and a job posting, you're like, oh, I'm eligible for that. You write a cover letter showing your experience, you send in your resume, and then maybe you get an interview, and then you can ask questions about what your position will actually be. In any other work environment, it's a normal, natural thing to want to know what you'll be doing, but we hear all over the place, like, why Ray Higdon has said, why do you care about how you get paid? Just do the work, it doesn't matter. We hear Beachbody people say, you don't need to know how you rank up, I'll tell you once you get there. You're just encouraged to dive into this opportunity blindly without actually knowing, because if you did do the research, you would probably come across content that shows the negative side of MLM. And if you did research into the ranking system, you would realize very quickly that it's all based on recruitment. So deceitful. I bet if they were recruited into the bottom of a pyramid scheme, then they would still be broke. Yes, completely agree. And then Tanya said, right. Oh, I love these Amway things. They're very educational in my opinion, but it also makes me mad. Because I don't know if Bobby and Priscilla would have had their own tool scam company or not. Like, they're affiliated with BWW, but I don't know, like, are people affiliated with their upline's tool scam company while also having their own? Like, how does that work? How does the hierarchy work? Oh, Charlene said, what person that has a family wants to leave a stable job to something completely unknown? That's a fantastic point. Someone who like has a partner that relies on them, or like kids that they have to keep alive, or pets, or like any kind of bills that they're responsible for, you know?
You've heard a little bit about it. We're just going to give you a couple of bullet points here to maybe reinforce some things. But y'all remember last year, Super Bowl? Who won the Super Bowl last year? New Orleans Saints, right? That was the perfect example of delayed gratification. Terry O'Shea said to me after Rocky's talk last night about, we got to get Rocky to drop the Redskins and pick up the Steelers as a team. And the first thing I said to Terry, I said, you got season tickets? He said, not yet. I said, well, okay. But you got to remember, Rocky grew up as a Redskin fan. He's been suffering like me for years. It's in the suffering that the victory is sweeter. You got to suffer symptoms, Remember, the sweetest fruit is on the longest branch, furthest from the trunk. Man cannot discover new oceans without the courage to lose sight of the shore. You can't steal second with your foot on first. Does that make sense?
No.
And the risk you take in this is just a risk of time, money, and change. Delayed.
At first, I was relating to him when he was saying, like, oh, Rocky's been suffering like me for years because of how bad their football team is. I'm like, yeah, I feel that. I used to love, still do, football teams, hockey teams that are not great and that like lose every game, but you still like you're a big fan. And I related to him for a second there, and then he starts yelling, the joy is in the suffering. You have to suffer. And so he's making the idea of delayed gratification in this sense is that you join Amway, you're in it for years, you're not making any money, you're working constantly, maybe you're going into debt. But then if you just suffer long enough, you delay your gratification, you will be diamonds like Bobby and Priscilla Harris, and you will be talking on Bill Britt's stage as well. If they can do it, these two people who started off broke, who were living in a trailer, if they can do it, then we can do it too. I wish I knew when they started so we could have seen exactly how long it took for them to get to Diamond, because we saw, I think, Rocky Covington took like 5 years to get to Diamond in the 70s or 80s. I wish we knew when they started. Charlie said, not quite the same as your team winning the Super Bowl, sir. Yes. And I like that we're calling him sir. That's great.
And some of those things. Let Priscilla say a few words on that.
Thank you. Our topic is delayed gratification, and I just want to point out one key issue that is a core success principle. Gals, you can argue with it until you're blue in the face. You're still going to have to delay some things to get what you really want. And guys, same thing with you. But think about this. Rich and Helen DeVos, Jay and Betty Van Andel, Bill and Peggy Britt, Dexter and Bertie Yeager, they delayed their gratification for years and years and years. Had they not believed in this one success principle, none of you would be sitting here. All over this world, it wouldn't be the same. So, it's just, you just got to buy into it. And I bought into it. I was already broke, as Bobby said.
You can't compare people coming into Amway in 2010, which is when this speech was delivered. You can't compare that to Bill and Peggy Britt. That's hard to say, or the founders' families. You can't compare that. You can't compare it because when they started, when the two founders started, they were very, very young, yes, but they were not in an extremely dire situation. If this didn't work, they were very, very ambitious young businessmen, and they could have tried to open up another business. You can't compare the risk of opening up a business in the 50s compared to people in 2010 coming into your pyramid scheme when there's already millions and millions of people in the scheme, and it's going to be really, really hard for you to recruit. And chances are, if you get in 2010, you're not going to open up your own tool scam company and you're not going to make any money. So Johnny said, delayed gratification sounds like a medical problem. I know, right? They are really messing with people's heads. Yes. And someone in a recent Amway stream made a really good point. Which one was it? It might have been the Bert Gulick one where someone said, remember that they don't tell people to prospect in this way until they're in. And so they'll be telling they tell them one thing to get them in the door, and then they'll like perform a good bait and switch and like switch it up, and then before you know it, you don't actually have time freedom because you're constantly prospecting and recruiting everyone you come across, and you have to show the plan 5 to 6 nights a week, even though you were told that you wouldn't have to work that much. You could work an hour or two a day. I'm not verbalizing my thoughts well.
Here, I made a game of it because I wanted this business, and I saw my man who was so dedicated as a coach and was so unselfish and giving to boys and guys to help them. He wanted to give back because he was given so much when he was a young man, and athletics was his life. But when I saw him have a dream about helping his own family, Bobby and Billy, our little boys, because he changed when he had those children. And I know all of you have children. Some of you do, some of you don't. But you have people in your downline who have children. And it did change for us. So
Yes, people in their downline have children, so they're in a really vulnerable state where they're not just responsible for their own bills and their own rent. They also have tiny humans who rely on them in order to survive. And so it's even more deplorable that you have potentially young parents who don't have a lot of money, who don't have a lot of options, trying to make this pyramid scheme work for them, even though unless they recruit thousands of people or unless they have their own tool scam company, they're not going to make any money. And the people who are at the top of this Amway pyramid, they know that. They know that. At least calling it delayed gratification is being accurate, better than pretending you'll see benefits anytime soon. Yeah. That's true, that's true. But I wonder, like our Bert Gulick stream, if were they told to have delayed gratification before they were brought into Amway and BWW, or were they told that they'll find success quickly if they just follow the system and share the plan? I wonder, But that's a really good point.
bought into it. And for 7 years, I didn't buy a new dress. I didn't buy anything unless it came from the Amway business. Food my mother would bring over. I was so fanatical in this one core principle, and I think it's one of the key reasons we have what we have today.
Why would you make yourself suffer? Like, what if you actually had a bit of savings before Amway and say you were making like $500 a month? Why would you make yourself suffer and not spend any of your other money and make your mom come over and bring you food? Why? Because I don't really see the purpose in that, if that's actually true, or if they concocted that story in order to make them seem more dedicated and more willing to sacrifice, because she's literally sacrificing her happiness in order to be free. What if she enjoys buying dresses? What if she likes fashion and then she can't buy dresses because they're not where they need to be in their Amway business?
And honestly, we go to McDonald's. We went to McDonald's coming down here, and Bob said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I don't have."
Off topic, it is so dry and cold here. I always look down at my hands and there's like cuts and there's like blood on them, and it's so gross. And I'm so excited for winter to be done so I don't have bloody hands constantly. Lift Panic said, yeah, you're right. They probably didn't know their gratification would be delayed until it was too late. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It's really hard to tell though. And then Tanya agrees. So sad. If that's true, if they were told something else to get themselves in the door, it's really, really sad that people were lied to.
I have any idea. I've only been in McDonald's like 5 times in my life because I don't buy fast food to this day. I could buy half a McDonald's if I wanted to. because I watched every single cent that we spent. I wrote it down. All of us wrote down every single cent that we spent because we didn't want any money going out that wasn't going into our Amway business. And a lot of you starve your baby, which is your business. Invest in your business. Don't be afraid to give. Don't be afraid to have samples. Don't be afraid, gals, to find out what your husband wants. Be careful what you ask for, because men are so great. They will die trying to get their wife or the person they love what they want. They will even quit the business and get a promotion and get what she wants, and then she's unhappy. Well, gals, go look in the mirror. It's your fault. It's not his.
So we are starving our babies, and we have to, which is our business, and we have to invest in our business with samples, probably with tools, with going to BWW events and buying all the tools and buying into the system and not analyzing the data and just doing what these freaking books tell you to do, right? And it's so weird. And I'm going to get to these comments in a second. Charlene just said, "Whoa, what?" Yeah, something about like, be careful what you ask for. The woman, she's talking to the women. Women, be careful what you ask for your husband, because your husband will quit the Amway business for you and go and get a promotion, so he gets what you want. So you get what you want. So like, be careful what you ask for. I don't really understand that part. Does anyone else get that? Let me know if you get that. I don't really get it. Lilac Llama. Hi, Lilac Llama. I'm really happy you're here. Thank you for listening to this Amway cult talk. Johnny, I hope you do not suffer from delayed gratification. I bet there is a pill for that nowadays. And then Johnny said, only instant gratification for me. Okay, where am I? I'm behind. Interesting how she describes how long they struggled. I wonder what was the turning point that they started making all this money. I wonder. Yeah. They said diamond when they got to ruby, they were like bought a house and cars and shit, but we don't know exactly when they started. But they said they've been completely free of a 9-to-5 since 1981, and then they went diamond in 1985. I just remembered all the Amway products piled in my brother's bedroom. It's hard to tell how much money he spent before he got out. I'm really glad he got out so quickly and that he wasn't in it too long, and hopefully he didn't lose that much money. I guess single gals aren't welcome or weren't welcome. Yeah, we've learned that a lot of the times the Amway is geared to couples, with the male being like the figurehead and being like the one actively working the business, and then the wife being like the supporter behind the scenes. It's a cult all the way, completely. Protect the men from providing. Yeah, I don't really get it. Does anyone else get that? What she said? I don't really understand. Only instant. Oh, yeah, I already read that one. I think they want to set the framework for putting every penny into your business and making many sacrifices, normalizing it. Okay, yeah. So we can't ask for something from our husband if it's not directly connected to our Amway business, and we need to sacrifice our desires and our need for a new dress so we can find success in Amway, right? Seems like she's conditioning the wives to not question their husbands in their Amway business. Perfect. I think I understand a bit now. We just have to let our husband do what he's doing in order to make us lots of money, right? I don't get it, but thank you guys. It seems like some of you guys understand it more.
I just want to tell you one thing. And the reason you can be so excited about this one principle is enthusiasm on fire is always better than intelligence on ice. We saw a lot of people on our team that could afford things that we couldn't afford. We passed them all. And the last 6 months of the 2010, we had more blessings than most people have in a lifetime. Build your business, but really take this principle to heart. It works.
And Johnny, it's very sad that when you went to that Amway meeting, it was mostly young college age boys. When I was in college, I knew nothing. I was 18 to 22, but I was a baby. I had very little life experience. I would not have known that Amway was a scam, that Amway was a pyramid scheme. And it's really sad that young people whose brains are not fully formed yet are targeted for these schemes. Off topic, but I love the name Priscilla. It just sounds pretty. Yeah, it's a nice name, right? It's a very like regal and sophisticated, you know? I totally agree. Oh no.
Brand new people, raise your hand. First function. Good. You made a great investment in your future. It's just the beginning. You know, if you had a conventional business, you'd already be $200,000 to $1 million in debt. Does that make sense? It'd take you program yourself for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to get out of debt to make a profit. All right. You didn't have to invest that. You invested whatever you did to get here, time and money or whatever. But that's just the beginning. You cannot build this business by not putting things back into the business. All right. New people, make that as a solid foundational principle. All right. Prioritize what you want. All right.
When people want to join like Beachbody, they'll say it's only $160 and then your $50.95 coaching fee. But then you'll hear things like that, like to be a real business owner, a real CEO, you have to invest back into your business. You have to be a product of the product. And he just said we have to invest in our business because we are so lucky to be entrepreneurs with Amway, because if we had a traditional business, we would already be $100,000 in debt. We would have already spent so much money, and we only spent a little bit to join Amway and a little bit to get here. And we are so blessed, even though we know that people in Amway are unfortunately not business owners. And the system is set up in such a way that the only customers in these companies are the actual distributors themselves buying their personal volume requirements and then paying their fees to stay active.
And then make sure that you're moving towards what you really want, what you really need. Does that make sense? People that have been in the business for a while, all right? Maybe you've had your business go up and your business come down, all right? It fluctuates, all right? It fluctuates. What you cannot afford to fluctuate is your attitude towards your dream. That should not fluctuate. You can always restart, all right? And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is restart. But is your dream still there, or are you in the settle for mentality? Does that make sense? The greatest stories are those who've been up and come down. Nobody can really relate to the person that gets in and 2 years later they're, oh yeah, man, you know, this was really hard. We got in and we sponsored 19,000 people, you know, and all you want to do is go, ah! Does it make sense? Your story is going to be the greatest story. You know, those of you that don't have a lot of resources, you think Nadia and Valeria had resources? They didn't have any resources. They had a dream. You know, Rick and Tony Fairchild, E3s in the Air Force. E3s. Hello, does this make sense? Stop looking at your situation as being the one that's going to keep you back and look at the reason that it needs to be moving you forward.
Hello, doesn't make sense. No, goodbye, sir. It does not make sense. So there's always this saying and this thought in MLM that your business will have seasons. You'll go through ups and downs. But he literally said this: you have to make sure that your attitude towards your business and towards your dreams does not go up and down with the seasons. So what if you just lost 100 people in your downline and your paycheck is slashed, is cut in half, and you're struggling to pay your bills, but you still have to have a positive attitude even though your business is going down the toilet? I'm sorry, but if I'm not making any money, that's a totally reasonable and normal reaction to have. And we should not be told to ignore the fear and the anxiety that we may have if we're not making money in our business, because we want this to be our livelihood. We want this to be able to pay our bills and take care of our children. But of course, he's normalizing the idea that we're going to make lots of money one month, no money the next month, and saying it's up to us to continue to have the perfect mindset, or else we're never going to find success. We have to practice delayed gratification and just get through the winter months of our business, and then we'll get back to summer at some point. Then we'll make our money. I'm in a real blabbering mood today. She commented earlier that when they were saving, anything she bought was from their business, so they helped rank themselves up basically. Ooh, I didn't even catch that. Interesting, interesting. Heather, do you have an email? Yes, and literally one person asked me for it so they could email me something, and I made them an email, sent it to them, and then I never brought it up again. But here it is. Here it is, heatherc.youtube@yahoo.com. If you have anything Amway related, but if it's like publicly posted Amway content, you can send it to that email, and I would love to take a look. Thank you for asking, Lilac Llama. He wants people to ignore that voice of common sense inside them that's telling them to get out of the MLM. Yes. Ignore your negative feelings. Remember Bob taught us this. Take your red light stories. So your red light story being that I'm not making any money in Amway, I'm going into debt, I need to leave, and turn that into a green light story. Like, I have so much more to give. I can make so much more of an impact if I just stay in Amway a little bit longer. That's a great point.
Does that make sense? We all have a choice, folks. We all have a choice. I don't want to hear your lottie-dottie poor time story. I tried it.
Why can't you hear a lottie-dottie poor time story when you told us your poor time story too, sir? Why is it okay for you to do?
That's a good reason to get in, is to try it. You need to decide to do it to make it work. Does that make sense? And each one in your own time. But flush the stories, flush the negative, flush the, look at your money. Where's your money going? To your future or to your entertainment? Where's your time going? To your future or to your pleasure? Where's the change in you going? Are you too stubborn to change your hair? Are you too stubborn to get your teeth fixed? Are you too stubborn to change the way you talk or walk? Folks, I changed. I'm continuing to change. Why? Because I need to get better.
So we need to change everything we are to be successful in Amway. We need to change our entertainment habits. We need to change what we do for pleasure. We need to change our hair and our teeth. We need to change everything about ourselves. Sir, Bobby, I was going to call you Bill. Bobby, why do we need to change ourselves to be successful in Amway? I think as adults, we just naturally change like month to month, year to year, and we don't need an MLM to become a better person and to evolve.
Does that make sense? I'm not the finished product. Are you the finished product? Absolutely not. That's where delayed gratification comes, is in the money, the time, and the change, And as you do that, and you start looking in the mirror, and you'll start realizing more and more and more, all right, that it's worth it, all right? Because you'll start making eye contact with yourself in the mirror, and you'll shake your head, and it won't matter what anybody else thinks or what anybody else says, you'll start getting little victories, okay, that'll keep adding to the finished product, all right? Some of your marriages will get better. Your kids will get better. Everything will grow, all right? But the victory won't happen totally until you're able to get up and walk across the stage and tell your story. Does that make sense? I've had people come in our business.
So he wants us to just think of the little victories in our business. So that could be like signing up a new IBO, a new independent business owner in Amway. Could be selling your first product. Just focus on the little victories and ignore the people who are questioning you. And I said this a million times. There's one thing if like your old bully from high school is like calling you names because you're in Amway. It's like that person doesn't care about you. Like you should ignore that person. But if it's your spouse or your mom or your best friend who's like, hey, I'm worried that you're in Amway, I'm stressed out about it, then you should listen to them. You should listen. And we're focusing on little tiny victories that don't actually lead to any financial gain. They always tell you to focus on the impact and to, like Michael Neiman said in Beachbody, he wanted us to focus on 100 business celebrations a month. So it distracts us from the fact that we're going into debt. And then Johnny said, sorry, Bobby, it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense, sir.
Who got their spiritual life together, got their marriage life together, learned how to handle their finances better, and they quit.
Chances are all that stuff he said is going to be harmed by you being an Amway. Chances are you're not going to see your kids, your finances are going to go down the toilet, potentially your marriage is going to be under stress. All of those things that he listed as positives will be harmed by Amway, by an MLM.
What are they really saying? I got mine, but I'm not going to give it to anybody else. Is that the right thing to do? No, it's not. There's families out there that only you are going to be able to touch. You alone are going to be able to touch. You don't know who they are. Wouldn't it be great if they had a sign on their forehead? It's me! People say, well, how do you pick people in the business? You don't pick them, you find them, through the process. And you just get blessed by a Mark and Liz Crockett, You get blessed by a Sherry Tucker. You get blessed by a Billy Harris who just happened to be in your family. I have another son, too, who's not in the business. We love him just as much, but he didn't see the vision yet that Billy did. That's a blessing. They both had the same opportunity. Maybe he will later, maybe he won't, But I know lives cannot be touched by anything else in this world greater than this business from us.
He just said one of his sons is in Amway, and in his bio that his two sons literally grew up in Amway. We've talked about this a million times. I won't go into huge detail. I wonder the negative impacts on one's mental well-being growing up in the monster of an MLM that Amway is. And one of their sons is in Amway, the other one isn't, like thinking that maybe you don't really have a choice and you have to be in Amway because your parents are such huge figures. And I wonder like what kind of dynamics that could lead to in the family. So Charlie said, so much projection, Bobby. They always create this vision of success as walking across the stage at one of their big meetings. Not everyone would want to do that, even if they're making a lot of money. Yeah, and I feel like not every person who walks across the stage is necessarily making a lot of money too. And potentially that could be another like useless piece of recognition too. Like, say, in Beachbody, you get to Diamond and you're asked to walk across the stage, but we know in Beachbody, diamonds don't actually make a lot of money, and most of them are still going into debt, but then they get recognized in front of like 10,000 people, and maybe they feel like they're making more money than they actually are. We're almost done.
Standpoint of where you start and where you can go. You don't have to learn how to sing. You don't have to learn how to shoot a basketball. All you got to do is give it away. Just give it away. Just give it away. Think about what you saw the first night you saw the plan and what thought process you went through. Does this make sense? And why you chose to take the next step. Why you got excited. What glimmer of hope came into your life. And never lose sight of that. I don't care how long you've been in. I don't care how many people you showed it to. Statistics are for losers. The thing that separates people that make it and don't make it in this business is a little word called faith.
Statistics are for losers. What separates those who find success and those who don't is faith. And so I think there he's telling us that don't look at your close rate. Don't look at the number of people you talk to versus the number of people who join. Don't look at statistics of Amway about how many people actually make money in Amway. Don't look at data that can actually be verified. Don't actually collect quantitative data. Just have faith. If you get one distributor for every 200 people you've talked to, just keep talking to more people and just have faith. Just delay your gratification a little bit longer. I'm getting mad. Oh, Dakota's here. Hi, Dakota. I'm so happy you're here. And I hope you enjoy the last like few minutes of the stream because we're almost done. So that makes sense why our head upline kept saying we got my wife's teeth fixed because we knew she'd be on stage when we were in. He was insinuating that we needed to do the same. Oh, interesting. Oh, because we need to do the same. We need to fix our teeth in case we will walk across the stage ourselves. Oh, interesting. Sounds like he still hopes the other son will see the light. Maybe. Buddy, it's smoke and mirrors. Yes. Yeah, stats are for losers, apparently. Oh, you guys all agree. That's crazy. So I'm guessing he doesn't read income disclosure reports. No, and he would probably say that they're fake because the people who join Amway just because they like the products are also included in that statement as well, and they're not actually trying to make money, so they pull the average down, is what he would probably say. Yes, numbers are for nerds, right, Lilac Llama? Again, don't critically think, just believe the dream they are pitching you. And in literally any other work environment, you would be encouraged to ask questions about your job, and you would be encouraged to take a day and think about a job offer to make sure you actually want the job. You're never going to be no one's ever going to apply pressure tactics to you and say, you must tell us right now. Oh, you have 3 other job offers you got today? Doesn't matter. You cannot get back to me tomorrow morning. You must tell me immediately. That's never going to happen because in an average work environment, they want you to have a second and think. Statistics are for losers, like an income disclosure statement. Yeah. Call me a nerd. Only numbers that matter are the ones that you can imagine will be in your bank account after you give the money. You give me the money that is currently in there. Yes, that's a great point. I'm glad you guys all agree with how crazy that statement was. We're almost done. We have less than a minute left in the video.
You know, faith is what you see when there's no evidence of it being there. It doesn't take faith to see it if it's there. It takes faith to see it when it's not there.
Hi, Dakota. I like seeing you here, especially on lives. It's really fun. And did you ever talk to Bobby and Priscilla? Did you know them? I know that's kind of a long shot, and I don't think they're as big as like Bob Anderson or like obviously not as big as Dexter Yeager. But anyone who watches this later who's in Amway, did you ever have experience with these two people? Let us know, please. If you want, no pressure.
Does that make sense? How can you have faith in something that you've never seen and not have faith in something you have seen? Evidence is there. Okay? So I hope it made some sense, guys. We love you. We just pray that you're going to make it happen for your future and your family. All right? Because we need you to be on this stage to give more credibility to what these people here have already done. God bless you. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, so that was Bobby and Priscilla Harris. Oh, my hair looks crazy. That's okay. So Johnny just said, that made no sense. Yeah, he needs us to make what these other people have already done more credible or something. I don't understand it. Do you guys understand it? So we heard a lot in that video. We heard that statistics are for losers and we just need to have faith. We heard that you have to suffer the joys and the suffering. We heard that you're going to have lots of ups and downs in your business. And in order to have success, you need to maintain. Now, let me click this. I'm going to remove this. Sorry. We heard that in order to find success, we need to just keep a positive attitude no matter how much money we're losing, no matter how many people are losing our team. We just have to have a positive attitude. What else did we learn? I feel like those were the main learnings that we heard. Did anyone else hear anything else that I missed? That made no sense. Yeah. I'm losing my mind with how many times he asked, does that make sense? In my old videos, like my old ones, I used to say at the end of every sentence, what do you guys think? What do you think? And I stopped saying that. It was like a really big habit because I felt like kind of like uncomfortable just like clicking play again without saying something after my statement. But then I taught myself like, okay, I don't need to fill all the silence with a what do you think? So maybe does that make sense? Like it could just be like a habit to like fill the awkward silence, but I'm overthinking it. What we need you to give us credibility. Oh, I wish I had hair like yours. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Don't waste your money at McDonald's, right, Lisa? We can't go to McDonald's. Yes. And get your teeth fixed. Yes. Yes. So we can walk across the stage and look pretty. Yeah. So thank you for Lisa and Charlie for giving us some extra learnings that I forgot. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed that. And it was really fun having several people in the comments to watch with us live. It's always fun, even if there's like one or two people, but it's extra fun when there's more, of course. No, I'm not sure if they're in LTD leadership team development. Okay, cool. I've tried to look up leadership team development to see like if there's any information on them. And of course, it seems like a lot of the Amway tool companies, like their information is behind a password, and I can't get to any of the information. And I really want to do more on the companies, but I can't get the info. Interesting stuff. Thanks, Heather. You're welcome, Live Panic. I will fight someone if they take away my McDonald's. Yes, same. I'll split my McNuggets with you. That's funny. I really enjoy the older videos. Thanks. Oh, I'm glad, Charlie. I'm glad you like it. And thank you for coming. So I'm going to wrap up now. This was fantastic. I'm going to go live again on Tuesday. So if you're able to hang out, that would be great. If not, you can watch the replay. Mark said, great topic. I'm so glad you liked it. I'll see you guys later, and I hope you all have a great night. Bye.